excited to talk to him. So yeah, here it says yes. Hey.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you guys? The last time I saw you in person, I think this is the last time I saw you in person was at Two Rivers.
Was it?
I think so. Two Rivers. Yeah.
It might have been. It might have been.
I'd
be around in parts.
Oh my gosh, how is the West Coast treating you?
You know, I think the West Coast is treating me about the same as the East Coast, the South, the Midwest is treating everybody right now. I will say this though, we've our weather has been probably nicer than the other the coast you're currently on.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool. There are different outlets here in LA that I didn't have in New York in order to just kind of relax and get away and get that mental health break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. How's that going for you? Yeah, I was about to say I wanted to do just before we start, I wanted to do a check-in with you. How are you doing today in this moment?
Today in this moment, I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
Definitely hopeful. Maybe more so about the state of humanity than the pandemic, the state of the pandemic. Just because I think we're tackling humanity a little bit better than the pandemic right now. But I'm hopeful, to see all of these and hear all these young voices really fighting for accountability with the police departments and whatnot, and racial change, but also just the fight for humanity. You know what I mean? I think there's a really strong fight for humanity going on that I think is long overdue. And so I don't think this time will be in vain. I don't think it won't produce the gains, the strides that we're looking for, like so many of the other protests that we've unfortunately had to do. So I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful. Now that anger comes and goes, and that despair comes and goes, but I've tried to balance it with, but look what it's bringing about.
Well, with that said, for you, when you try to find that balance, the balance for you, what is there a particular self-care that you may have already been doing, or that you discovered during this shutdown that you find that's helping you keep the spirit and keep that balance going?
Part of the self-care is, and I don't know how popular of an answer this is, but it's to kind of shut things off. Just from here and there. I want to be informed. I love staying informed, and I want to know what's going on. I want to know what the movement is doing. I want to know what the news is, absolutely. But at some point, too much news can create a mental space that's not helpful in any way for the movement or for myself. So I'll catch up on it, but I gotta take a break, at least 2 to 3 hours a day. Just put my phone down, turn off MSNBC, and go take walks, ride bikes.
Nice.
Just kind of clear the headspace. And to be honest, lately riding bikes just in my neighborhood, you pass these protests, these individual pod protests, and 85% of the people who are protesting don't look like me at all. And that's beautiful and refreshing. That's great.
There's a part of me that's like, well, somebody got to do it. We tired.
Right. I mean, that's great as well. So sometimes you do. I think it's healthy to step back and see the number of different people fighting the fight that you're fighting. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's been great. Been very eye opening too.
Yeah, I feel the same way, because that's what I feel is so different than the ones, the previous ones, that there's so much more attention to this, of what happened with George Floyd, and the countless murders, and that he is the catalyst to bring us to the tipping point, is how I see it. And to see so many different people of different walks and different backgrounds is where I see a change in how it feels different to me.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah.
I think, and we talked about this earlier, I think it was, unfortunately, it's a perfect storm of happenings in this world, with the pandemic. there were no distractions happening, so we all could pay attention to the news, and every country had their eye on every other country, seeing how they were doing, how they were dealing with it, sending out support, from here, from Italy to China to wherever, to America now. And so everyone was open and vulnerable to this kind of energy of humanity.
Yeah.
And then these events happening that have been happening in America since we've been here.
I mean, amen.
But in this moment in time where you have, and I'll just name the most recent one, the George Floyd case, the whole world had their eyes on this inhumane event.
Yeah.
On the injustice, the inequality, the non-accountability the officers had until people started to protest and petition and whatnot. So because there were no distractions, the whole world could join in and see what the problem was. Nobody could put a commercial filter on America, the greatest place in the world. In this moment, like the ugliness is being shown and everyone is seeing it. And I think that's what's sparking so many international protests for George Floyd, for police brutality, but also, like I say, just for humanity as a whole. We got to get closer to what humanity is supposed to be in order to progress to this next generation. And I think the universe needed a cleansing. And I think that's what we're seeing now. It ain't gonna be easy.
No.
It's not gonna be easy.
This is only the beginning. This is like the first step, right? So, I'm glad we talked about that. No, I'm glad to do that check-in because, I want to do, I definitely want to make sure that I check in and just to see how my guests are doing because it's hard for all of us and it affects us in different ways, and it's just important for the community to hear us say this out loud so they know they're not alone. So that's why I definitely like to ask and check in with you about that. But now that we've moved past that, I want to get into the fun stuff because I'm going to ask the questions that I myself want to know about because, like I said, when I see you, I see you, on the stage, I see you on TV every day, and you think you know somebody, but I'm like, I don't really know. There's some things I don't know. So, but for you, you born and raised in Houston.
Yeah.
And so, you come from what New Yorkers call a theater royalty, right? With you and your brother and your dad. And I just wanted to check in with you about where did the love of the arts come from? I mean, I know your dad was an actor, still is an actor. But for you, was it him saying this is what you're going to do, or did you see him on stage and you were like, I want to do that, or how did that come about for you?
Well, let me go back to the first statement. This whole theater royalty thing, people watching, we did not come up with that. That's been said about us. I don't know why. Look, we're just trying to work and attack it with a type of integrity and reverence that was an example for us as we studied the craft before we got to New York. Negro Ensemble Company, New Federal Theater, and all these titans of theater. And Crystal, Brandon's wife, Crystal Dickinson, is all part of that. The game.
I'm such a fan of hers. Yeah, she's so great. She's amazing on stage. Yeah.
But yes, I did. We were privy to watching my dad do theater. Work the craft in Houston, do a lot of Houston theater, and also some film that was shot in Houston or in Austin. But I think for me, that's not really where I got the inspiration to be an actor. I think for me, we've always been a family. Shout out to my mom. We've always been a family of creativity, right? We were always creating things. My mom's favorite phrase is, see, you can make this. So instead of buying something.
Okay, amen. I think that's every black mama. What are you doing? We can go back here and make this. Go get the needle. Go get the needle.
Right. So we were always encouraged to create.
I love that.
And so I've always had that spirit, that creative spirit. Before I got into acting, I'm embarrassed to say that I actually wanted to be a DJ personality, and I had my own name, my own radio personality.
What was the name?
It was J-Dog. J-Dog. J-Dog, It's Your Boy was going to be my show, my radio show. J-Dog, It's Your Boy. And then I graduated from that to actually, I never wanted to be a rapper. I just loved to create. and I found this little, 20 key Casio keyboard and could make my own beats. And I had a demo tape called J Dog Stop Jocking.
This is all. I love this. Though. I love this. Oh my god.
This is all. I'm 14 years old. I had so much time on my hands, and I'm in the house by myself. But that's where the creative spirit happened, and then I slowly eased into acting. Now, because it was introduced to us at an early age, it was familiar in some ways that I couldn't really even communicate. It was just familiar, being on stage, looking at scripts, analyzing characters, intentions. It was just familiar, even though I hadn't had the conversations yet. But once myself and my brother started doing it, our dad became my first acting coach.
I love that.
He focused on monologues, high school monologues, and whatnot, and really instilled the craft and how to work as an actor. And it went beyond memorizing lines and trying to get a character voice and being interesting. It was actually intention, character analysis, story analysis, script analysis, and then understanding the responsibility that the artist has as an artist. Why are you doing this? It's not about the hand clap and the laughter and then you can make people cry. It's about how you are affecting them beyond this moment, giving them something to think about, some truth about society and about the world they live in and about the people that you're playing, so they can go forward and see society in a different way, be changed, have their DNA changed. That's the power that you have as an artist. So don't forget that as you continue on with this craft. Yeah.
Well, when you talk about responsibility, how does that carry over for you when you and your brother work together? Because he's directed you in the play, you've been in the play opposite of him. How do you guys change hats, or when you're working with him instead of guitars, you're just like, okay, that's not my brother, that's the director, or when you guys are in piano lessons together or other projects you guys done together, how do you keep that responsibility without having brother, the brothers, what brothers do, because I don't have a brother.
Well, that's the one thing that we don't do. We don't ever forget that we're brothers, and I think that helps us because of our relationship and because our familial relationship and what we've been taught growing up. You can't forget that your brothers, so the love is never lost.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when he's a director and I'm an actor and he's telling me things as a director. And he's the position of authority and position of vision. So, he may give me a critique that I don't necessarily agree with when we're discussing it as actor-director, but the love is never lost because our last name is still Dirden.
Yeah.
And we were always taught that your last name is more important than the first name, right? So that's how we've just moved through this business together. If I achieve something, if I make a new relationship that I think he can benefit from, or I think the person needs to meet him, and I say, hey man, I got a brother who's 10 times better than me. If you think I'm good, you should meet such and such, and he'll do the same with Crystal. And we move as a unit. We're individuals. We understand our individual energy and our individual abilities, but we still move as a unit. So that love has really enhanced our actual growth in the craft because we can be honest with each other. We can call each other out on our BS. We can call each other out when we're not really going after it. And because of that, the other side of the coin is when we give a compliment, we recognize some beautiful work, we know it's coming from a real place. You know what I mean? So it's been a benefit to us, man. We're extremely blessed to have each other moving through this business.
But that's a very healthy way of looking at it because relationships, regardless of what kind it is, platonic, romantic, brother, sister, sibling love, it's very healthy. Like what you said is like you guys move as a unit, but you're very individual, which is very important because people tend to forget the individuality when they enter in any type of relationship, and so it leaves room to be able to collaborate. And so I really think that's a beautiful way of putting it because not everybody can be that healthy, and it shows on stage. It shows. The work shows when you when I've seen you work with your brother. The love and everything, it does show. So how did you end up in New York?
I didn't want to be in New York.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I always wanted to come to LA.
Okay.
I felt once I started acting, I was like, I really want to do TV and film. I had this Jones for TV.
Yeah.
I love theater. I love it. But when I first started out, I hated the idea of doing the same thing night in and night out for months at a time. Right? It was tired. It was mentally tiring and draining for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted. It's a lot of work, which people don't really understand until they do it. But I always felt like TV and film, number one, it's quicker work, and once you hit it, it's forever, right? And then the reach that you can the reach the amount of people that you can reach per project. You know, when you do a film or you do television, and so that always excited me, and I always kind of felt like there was a different kind of reality that you can live, especially in film versus on stage. Now I've kind of adjusted that because I've done enough stage to know that there's a whole lot of reality and different ways you can project that on stage. But film was just like I felt like there were no hurdles, no obstacles of being my real self. Even with the camera movement, like the camera's gonna find this. I don't have to be this large, make large choices in order for the camera and the audience to see that subtlety. And I love doing subtle stuff. But anyway, grad school, in our showcase, we came to New York.
Okay. Now, where'd you go to grad school?
I went to grad school, University of Illinois, in Brandon, Champaign. Yeah, Brandon did too.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that. Okay. Oh,
yeah, and Crystal.
See, that makes sense now. Yeah, the love, it's all coming together. It's all coming together.
Right. And out of that showcase, I got an agent. And so I said, well, I don't have anything in LA. I have at least an agent here in New York. Let me stay in New York and try it out, and maybe a job would bring me to LA. So that's how I ended up in New York, and I hated it. I hated it for the first couple of years. I hated it.
Well, now that you're on the West Coast, do you miss it sometimes? Or do you feel like, you know what, I made my choice. I'm here in California. I love the West Coast or wherever you are. But at New York, I'll just dip my toe in, but I'm not coming back. I mean, let's just work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I learned to love New York while I was there, and I learned to love it even more since I've been gone.
Okay.
First I loved the people of New York, but also I love the energy of New York. It's so much easier to be an artist in New York, like an artist in New York, right? Even if you aren't getting paid for it, there's so much opportunity to work your muscle as an artist in New York, whether you're going to a reading, whether you're in a reading, whether you're going to see a play, that just it breeds artistry.
Yeah.
Even just the observation of life in New York. There's so many artistic people walking around who don't even recognize themselves as being an artist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's just so much art walking around. Whereas in LA, you got to find it. You have to search for opportunities to be an artist, not necessarily for opportunities to work as an actor or to do TV and film, but to really be an artist where artistry is encouraged. You got to search for it. And so that's the part about New York that I really miss. I really miss. But I love my LA sunshine.
I was gonna say, you could go for your bikes rides, and it's funny when you're talking about the bike ride. I'm a little salty because I've been trying to buy a bike and they're sold out everywhere. And to the point where my friend was like, just go and buy a used one. Get on eBay. And I was like, no, I want a brand new hybrid bike. I'm a little salty that you get the bike ride, right? Because I rollerblade right now, but I was like, I'm tired of rollerblading. I kind of want to mix it up and get a bike. And literally even the bike store down the street from my house, bikes are gone. He was like, we're not going to get bikes for like a month or two. And I was like, what? I didn't even think about it because I didn't think we were going to be quarantine or shut down this long. So I was just ugh. Right. But something you said earlier right now about how on TV you can be yourself, because I want to talk about these roles that you play where you try to be yourself. So we need to check in about that because American Soul, Greenleaf, come on now, George and Pastor Skanks. I mean, his name is Pastor Skanks. Like, what part of you, like the hustler? Are you talking about the real you as the hustler? Like, what are you talking about? I love that though.
I mean, I spent a few nights in a back alley and having to deal with a few people. No.
Because you play them so well and thought out, and you bring humanity to all the parts you play. And that's why I asked. But when you're saying you bring yourself, you can be more of yourself. What is it? what makes you say yes to these men that you've chosen, because they're so complicated, and they love what they love, they do what they do, you know, all of that because you play them. But you know, some people see them as villains. How do you tell me all about that?
Well, I mean, you know, the surface stuff, the hustler or the gambler or you know, the mob part of these characters. That's the easy part. Mm-hmm. That's the easy thing. I mean, you can see that anywhere. Like I say all the time, I see these people at the barbershop. You know, they come in. When I grew up, we used to have hustlers coming into the barbershop that could sell water to a well. You know what I mean? It just yeah. That gift of gab. You see that everywhere. If you're observant, and as actors, you're supposed to observe life, right? Yeah. Human behavior. So that part was easy to connect to. The difficult part and the more interesting part for me is finding out the dimensions that make them human. You know, and that's the reason why they are who they are, and the reason why they act the way they act and have certain intentions and go about them in certain ways. You know, so many people focus on the what people do, and that's so uninteresting to me in comparison to the why they're doing it. And when you understand the why, you begin to understand, okay, this person is a human being. This person is actually just like me. I've just never been in that situation before to know what I would do. You know what I mean? And so those characters really excite me, man. And like I say, just past observations of hustlers, of pastors even, who I knew were hustling in the pulpit. You know?
I mean, not all pastors. In case some pastors watch this later, not all pastors.
No, definitely not. But to a certain degree, I'm just being honest. To a certain degree, I hear you. You have to be a hustler to be a pastor, because your sole job is to bring people to the Word and make people believe, convince people that this Word that was written however many years ago is the truth. Yeah. And the way we're supposed to live life. And in addition, give the church money. So in essence, they are hustlers. Now, hopefully most of them are hustling for the ultimate good of everyone within that building. But they are hustlers. And I remember one day on set, I was doing this scene, and one of the background actors said to me, you know, I'm watching you, and I can't tell whether you are a pastor or a pimp. I said, but sometimes they one and the same, ain't they?
Like again, not all pastors. No, but you're right. I hear you. I hear you. Totally, I hear you. No, it makes complete sense, because that's a whole other interview. I could say so much about some of these pastors out here, and you know, and some of them doing these photo ops with that person in the White House. Like, there's certain things that are happening that I'm just like, I'm not feeling you, and why are you out there, and why are you over here doing this photo op, and then you're gonna turn around and ask people for money. But that's a whole other conversation. We're not gonna digress over to that. With the characters that you play, especially with American Soul and Greenleaf, tell me one thing about each character that you love.
Greenleaf, I love how honest Basically Skanks is. You know, he doesn't do anything underhanded without telling you first, I'm about to do this. You know, and he presents all options, even with his relationship with Jacob. You know, he's very honest with Jacob as far as what his plans are with the new church and whatnot. And he's saying, look, if you want to be a part of this, this is what it is. And if you want to be a part of this, I don't know if you remember the first season.
I do, because it's my jam. It's my jam.
If this is going to happen, let's go talk to your father first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not afraid to face whatever's about to happen. Because he's a righteous man. He believes that what he is doing is more right than what the Greenleafs are doing. He's living in a more righteous way in his mind, and I love that. I love being able to argue that he is more righteous than the Greenleafs are. You know, he's seen as the villain, but I believe he's only seen as the villain because the audience was introduced to the Greenleafs first, and they got to tell their side of the story first. And so we were told that these are the heroes of you know, Greenleaf. Yeah. But if you meet a person and a person says, I was a little boy and my father was killed in a church fire, and I believe the church was arson for insurance money, he now becomes the hero avenging his father. And then when we meet the Greenleafs, they're the villain. If you hear that part of the story first, he's the hero.
Yeah.
You know, so I think he has every right to believe his cause is more righteous than the Greenleafs. Now he kind of goes off the rail a little bit.
I mean, yeah,
yeah. So,
yeah.
so
I love that though. That's a good way of looking. I mean, I love it.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, Gerald Ames, you know, he's just the coolest dude in the room. But I think so.
Well, you know what? I want to hold that pause just for a minute, because what I want to say is I like your response to them, because I see in your response now the love you have for them, and that's very important as an artist. So keep going. Yeah, I love that. Go ahead.
You gotta love your character. You gotta advocate for them when nobody else does. You know, and Gerald Ames, although he's a fictional character within this story, I think he does embody certain things that Don had to come across in order and needed on his side in order for Soul Train to be the legacy that it is, right? So without Gerald, we don't know if these top acts would even go to Soul Train, because Gerald had the club, he had the facility to get all of these things. He had the relationships with these singers. Don didn't. Don had a public access dance show in Chicago. He knew Chicago performers. He didn't know the Philadelphia sound. He didn't know all these people that had already made it in Cali and had #1 hits on Billboard and whatnot. Gerald did. So you say what you want to say about him as far as his tactics and the way he treats people and his, you know, under the table business. But without Gerald, we may not have Soul Train. Without what Gerald represents, we may not have Soul Train. You know, the music world, the entertainment world now, but in the 60s and 70s was a ruthless business.
Listen, I mean, I watched Soul Train, the reruns of it, and I'm just doing a Soul Train line in my house by myself. That's such an impact on me. You know, I'm just like trying to do all the moves and the dances, because there's so much about Soul Train. Of course, I didn't know. You know, just seeing the reruns and growing up with it, and like just remember vaguely as a kid. But is there something about Soul Train that you thought you knew but didn't when you were doing all this research? Is there something that surprised you with that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, number one, I didn't know that the dancers weren't getting paid. I didn't know they were getting paid in KFC chicken.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, things like that. Those are important to know, because we must pay our artists. You know.
Right. I didn't know how much of a mean, nasty person Dick Clark was regarding the business. You know, he's presented as an American hero with American bandstand, just the nicest person. New Year's Eve countdown, just the nicest guy. But when he saw a threat to what he was doing, and he couldn't create that, he first tried to buy it, then he tried to duplicate it. You know what I mean? And that is true. That is 100% accurate on many accounts. So that really surprised me. What Don Cornelius had to face and go through, not just to get Soul Train off the ground nationally, but sustain it. You know what I mean? It's you never know what it takes to fulfill your dream. I said this last year. I said, dreaming ain't pretty. It's not.
Amen.
Not when you wake up and go after it. It ain't pretty.
So. Well, you've worked with so many amazing people. One of my favorites is Dominique Morisseau, Ruben Santiago Hudson, Denzel Washington. The list goes on and on and on. People, you guys can Google it. He's worked with so many greats. And so, what is a piece of advice that some of these greats have given you that you hold on to? Because you worked with some really A-list gems, you know?
You know, I'll keep it simple. And not everybody told me this, but they were all a representation of it. It's about the work. That's what it's about. It's about the work. It's not about, like I say, the awards. It's not about this job leading to a bigger job, and hopefully you have a lot of fans out when they see you on TV or film or whatever. It's always about the work. And if you make it about the work and you approach the work with integrity and the responsibility and trying to and understanding that this work will supersede this moment, then you know all the blessings will come. All of the great effect you can have on the viewers will come because you're making it about the work. It's that important to you, and you'll always be all right because you're approaching it with integrity, with love. You know, you'll be okay mentally. Now, will you make as much money as you dreamed of making? I don't know, but you don't have control over that anyway. You don't have control over that anyway. So just make it about the work, and I guarantee, whatever check I receive in the mail, yes, it helps bills wise, but when I receive a Instagram DM saying how much I affected them through my character portrayal or the story or the play or the TV show that I'm in, that fills me more than anything a check could buy me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't just mean that just to say it sound good. Like, it absolutely does, because that's my purpose. That's my intention. I want you to get something out of what I'm doing. If you're not getting anything out of what I'm doing, then why am I doing it?
Amen. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And out of all these greats that you've worked with, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you, who's your favorite out of them that you've worked with?
You know what? I can't say who my favorite is. I'm not going to say who my favorite is. I will say who I've learned the most from.
Okay, yeah.
Just as an artist. And I think hands down it has to be Ruben. It has to be Ruben Santiago Hudson. Just because I've gotten to know him as a man, as a brother, and as an artist, and what he's had to fight against in this business, just to be an artist, just to have his voice, and that taught me a lot of how to navigate this business. And sometimes you're gonna make some personal sacrifices in order to keep your sanity, to keep your integrity, and to keep your own voice. And of course, just as a director, I think he's incredible. He's absolutely incredible as a director, and his love for people and humanity, and specifically African American people. And that's why the experience with Dominique together doing Skeleton Crew was just...
Oh my gosh, with my girl Nakia, who I love, Nakia Mathis.
Yeah, the whole cast. Nakia,
like the whole cast, you guys were fire. You guys, it was great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was a great. I mean, just you guys are just great. It fills my heart. One thing I want to say before we go, I want to ask you about Dear American Theater. Have you been seeing that going around where communities of color, specifically Black people, going around signing this petition? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a wonderful movement. I think it's a wonderful movement, and I'm overwhelmed by the number of signees on the petition so far within the last 36 hours. I think it's like close to 50,000, which lets you know that it's necessary. This kind of movement is necessary. I'm definitely a part of the solidarity of it all. My name is on the original list for the letter, and I just think that it's something powerful, and I don't think that we can let this moment go by without addressing so many different areas of life. Without forgetting what instigated, what was the match for this movement of police brutality, and specifically George Floyd. Absolutely. But I think it's a representation, and this whole movement has grown into something larger and something just as necessary for humanity. We have to hit every industry and get people to understand it's not just about police brutality. This police brutality moment is the spotlight of what's been happening in all walks of life in this country for a very long time. So since we're all open and understanding, and we're all putting out statements of Black Lives Matter, and we support, and we're going to learn, well, let's see how far that goes in every industry. In every industry. The statement is great. Thank you for recognizing and seeing and hearing. But now, what are you actively going to do? Yeah, the action behind it. Like we're done with lip service. Like you can say and talk all day, but you need to there needs to be action and movement behind it. Right. Yeah, right. I understand that. Well, as we're coming down with the end of this interview, what is next for you? What is there? I know everything is shut down, and they're really going slowly with opening things up and making sure that we're safe and the actors on set are safe. Is there anything that's keeping you occupied artistically that we can be looking out for coming up, or is that something you can talk about? No. Okay. There's something that I'm working on and doing research on, but I don't know if it's gonna happen because of of the shutdown. TV stuff, but I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, okay, that's real.
American Soul every Wednesday night.
Yes, yes. You got to make sure you guys watch American Soul. It's such a good series. He's so good on it. And so at the end of each interview, I like to ask my guests about a cherry pick, and a cherry pick can be anything that you want your fans, the viewers, people who watch this interview later, what they can go. You can send them towards something. What would your cherry pick be for you?
That's cool. One would be to read the letter.
Okay, yes.
Read the and you can find that at WeSeeYouWAT.com.
WeSeeYouWAT.com.
Yes. And the other would be actually I just came across this Instagram page and I should have known about it a long time ago. C. McCreary Yoga.
C. McCreary Yoga. Okay.
Yeah, Crystal McCreary does yoga on her Instagram, and I think it's so important. I don't do yoga often. I probably more so never.
Yeah, okay, I hear that.
But when I do it, it's very helpful to my mental and to my physical, of course. And I think in this time where we're all like either angry or depressed or just don't know what to do physically, and things are happening to us physically that we don't recognize and we don't understand why. It's because we're holding so much tension and so much anger and so much whatever this world that we live in now is making you do internally. And I think something like yoga that will go towards your mental health, which I think is so important in fighting. You gotta stay mentally healthy in order to be a productive fighter in this fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she offers yoga, black woman, and I think through this month 4 free classes, and they're all online.
Oh, nice. Okay,
So C. McCreary Yoga, you can find her on Instagram. That's her Instagram, C. McCreary Yoga. So go get your yoga on.
Oh my gosh. Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to just talk with me and just for us to get to know you a little bit more and just to connect, because that's what I was going to stop doing these interviews, but like I told you when we were talking on the phone, it was more of just, I want to continue. I want, to bring some Black joy, Black love, some just, like you were talking about mental health, some peace to us, because we do, even though we're out there fighting every day, I like to continue to take breaks and just show how we still connect with each other. And so I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate you saying yes, because everybody has so much going on that you didn't have to, and it doesn't go unnoticed by me. And but the last thing I want to ask you before we end is, who's the favorite brother?
Who's the favorite brother? I mean, come on.
Okay.
Let's you know what? I'm the youngest, so I got to be the favorite.
So you have to be the favorite. Oh my gosh. Well, listen, it's good talking to you, and I hope we'll talk soon some more, and please keep me abreast of what's going on, and let's check in every once in a while. Just keep our spirits up. Let's just be responsible for each other and spread the love and pay it forward in any way we can.
Yeah, and don't stop this. This is so necessary.
Thank you.
It's very necessary to get different points of view and your point of view, but just having this platform for artists to be more than artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be their whole selves and talk about different things is so very important.
Thank you.
So thank you for having me.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's my goal. So thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
All right.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Be safe.
Okay,
all right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.